Guys, top of the nun here again. Gonna be showing you a couple of different things today. Um, mostly I'm gonna be going over how to move a listener to its own class, and how to register commands in their own class. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get started on that. Um, a really good place that you can go to learn a lot of this stuff is the wiki.bukkit.org/plugin_tutorial. It's really useful because it gives you examples of everything, but it doesn't necessarily show you why it's useful or what exactly it does in game. So I'm going to be going through a couple of the different things on this list of things and um, showing you exactly what it does in game. So if I want to create a different listener class, I'd right click on my package, meet at top of the nun, and create a new class and call it block listener. I'd want it to implement listener, and the class I would want to import is org.bukkit.event.listener. I'd want to create a field, call it private bucket tutorial plugin, and this is what's called a constructor. So no, no, I messed that up. My bad. I want the field to be private bucket tutorial plugin. So after I've created the block listener, I want to create a field called private block tutorial. I want to call it bucket tutorial plugin. And then I want to create a constructor for the block listener that looks like this. Alright, so what the constructor does is it allows some other class to create a version, an instance of the class that you just made. So here where I do the material mat equals material.getMaterial, I would effectively do the same thing here, except it would be, in this case, block listener equals new block listener. And because the parameter of the constructor is a bucket tutorial plugin, I can just go ahead and pass in this to the block listener. So inside the block listener, we basically want to copy the on block damage event and push that into the block listener. Because we no longer have the material field in the same class, it's going to be a lot more difficult to access it unless we do what's called creating a getter or changing the visibility of the field. We could change this to public, and then all we'd need to do to access it is just do a plugin dot material, and we'd immediately have access to it. Well, that's fine if you're the only person that would ever have access to your own code. It's a much easier and nicer way to just create a getter for it. This way, nothing can change it except for something that you have intentionally designed to change it. Only things in the bucket tutorial plugin class can change this field because it's private, but anything that calls the get material method has access, can read what the material is, but it can't write it. So now if we remember that the register events accepts a listener as the first parameter, and we pass in block listener, this now does the exact same thing that our plugin just did. We punch blocks; they turn into different blocks, and if we change the block using commands, then it does the same thing. Um, so now I'm going to show you how to use a command executor. Command executors are ways that let you take this onCommand method and pull it out of your main plugin class and put it in a different class just for easier segmentation and maintainability. We want to create one and call it basic command executor. And we want to implement command executor in this basic command executor class. We want to again create the field and create the constructor. I just did that automatically by hitting Alt Enter while sitting over the plugin while my cursor was inside the plugin field. Up here for material, we do want to create a setter for it as well, which we can do by hitting Insert, Alt Insert, and then going to Setter and Material. So now we have a set material and get material. The difference between using private and using this set getter and setter is that if you use the setter, then you can control what it is. So we could change it so that if material equals material that gold obsidian, that's the only way that the material gets changed. Or we could set it so that if the material is not obsidian, then it gets set. This is pretty useful because it lets you control what is and is not allowed in the particular setting. So it's more recommended than doing just the public field. Alright, so we basically want to copy the contents of our onCommand method and paste it into the onCommand method here. In our case, though, we want this to return true in this case because this onCommand method is only going to be called when the particular command we're passing is the one that gets called, is the one that gets run. So we don't need this command.getName.equals_basic anymore, because anytime that this onCommand gets called, it will automatically be for the basic command. So because we have a different parameter here, strings, we can either change the parameter name to args, which is what I'm going to do, and we can change the parameter names just so it's easier, so it looks exactly like the one we were just using. And then this right here, this material equals mat, this is why we created the setter. We're going to want to do plugin dot set material to mat. And inside the Bukkit tutorial plugin, we can get rid of the onCommand method, and here we can do the basically what you want to do is you want to do get command basic in quotes, and then you want to set the executor to a new basic command executor. You can do the exact same thing by doing basic command executor to command executor equals new basic this. And then in the get command basic.set executor, you want to pass in basic command executor. So if I were to put this on the server and run it, it would do exactly the same thing that our plugin was doing earlier. The difference is that now we've got it in 3 different classes which help us to do segmentation and figure out where issues are coming from in a much easier way. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the block listener and show you uh, what a runnable is done here. So in Bukkit, you can do what's called scheduling a runnable. Runnables are classes that can perform a particular function differing amounts of time later. So let's say, for instance, I want to create a new Bukkit task. Let's go with Bukkit tutorial task. It needs to implement runnable. And you'll see that you've got this red squiggly, which means that you need to implement the methods, which should be the run method. You want to do the same Bukkit tutorial task, Bukkit tutorial plugin, create the constructor, yada yada, that we've been doing. Well, actually, the way that we're going to I'm actually thinking about doing this. We're going to change this from private Bukkit tutorial plugin to just and include a private block field. And then we're going to add another parameter, and we're going to this block equals b. What we're doing here with this dot is basically saying that the plugin field of this particular instance of this class needs to be set to this value. So that's essentially what we're doing there. Alright, so I'm going to make it so that way all of the blocks within a radius of 5 blocks that are dirt get turned into whatever, that are grass or dirt get turned into whatever material the Bukkit tutorial plugin has. So I have, we're going to do what's called a for loop, which looks like this. Going to start it at -5. So what this does is it says, okay, so I'm starting at -5. While x is less than or equal to 5, I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to increment the number. So you can change it so that way it increments the number and then does something by changing it from x++ to ++x, but that's not what we really want to do. And because we want to do this in a radius around the block, we're going to do the same thing for y. And we're also going to do it for z, because there's the 3 different axes that Minecraft uses. Alright, so we've been given a block. So the world w equals block.getWorld. Right. And then we want to check and see, we want to get the block that is at the particular radius away from the block we were passed in. So we want to do block b equals block.getRelative x, y, z. What this does is, if we pass in the block x equals -5, if we do x equals -5, y equals -5, and z equals -5. It's going to get the block that is 5 blocks to the left, 5 blocks down, and then 5 blocks to the north. So 5 blocks west, 5 blocks south, 5 blocks down. So it's going to be in the bottom southwest corner, and it'll do this across the entire cube. So it'll move it over one at a time and get every single block within this 5 block radius around our given block. We do want to set b.setType to plugin.getMaterial. So that's pretty much all we need in this tutorial task class. But in our block listener, instead of doing event.getBlock.setType, what we want to do instead is we want to do plugin.getScheduler.runTask later, and we want to pass in our plugin, and then we want to pass in a Bukkit tutorial task that has plugin and event.getBlock as its parameters. And then if we want to do 1 second, we just do 20L. Because there are 20 ticks per second on a Bukkit server, you want to do however many seconds multiplied by 20L. Each tick is 1L. So we want to do 20L times 1 for 1 second, times 2 for 2 seconds, 3 for 3. Let's just do 1 second for now. So what this will do now is if I make it and then run it on the server, and I punch a any block whatsoever, it will be turned into a by default a gold block, but I can run my command to change what it gets set to. So I'm getting onto my localhost server that I showed you how to set up a couple videos ago. So let's say I punch this right there. All of those blocks just got turned into golden blocks. Oh, hi there. But yeah, all of those blocks just got turned into golden blocks. It gets really cool when you do stuff like instead of doing solid blocks, solid cubes, you want to do stuff like hollow cubes. So you can do stuff like if x equals -5, if you want to check and make sure that it's just on the edges, x equals -5 or x equals 5. This right here, if you do this, then it says if x is equal to -5 or if x is equal to 5, then we're going to do something. If you create another if inside it, you can do if y is equal to -5 or y is equal to 5, then we do something. You can also go inside that again and do if z equals -5 or z equals 5, then we do this, and you make it. You can go ahead and just get a hollow cube going, which looks really nice. it won't actually be a hollow cube exactly because of um, just because the way I coded it will make it look kind of funky, but it still looks really cool. Um, let's say I want to do it on this. I'm going to create a stone tower real quick. Um, the code sample I just showed you is going to do something really weird, but it's going to look pretty cool. That I couldn't exactly show you right there because I'm in creative mode too, so that didn't help. So if I go to punch that block, it puts it at those corners. If I do it in this way, so if I do it so that way it just checks all of these. If any of these are true, then it does it. If any of these are true, it's going to make a hollow cube for us, which is going to be really cool. And you can play with this, and you can make it so that it does really cool patterns and stuff. Like, for instance, if I was to punch the block now, it entirely encompasses us in this giant golden block tomb. Um, so if I were to run my command /basic glowstone and punch it, it would turn it all into glowstone a second later. So that's the purpose of a runnable, is to do things an amount of time later. So you can do stuff like that with runnables. I feel like I'm covering a lot in this one episode, so I'm going to stop right there and pick up again with something else in a little bit. I'm going to make another video just because I don't really want to make these videos way too long. So hope you learned something from this. Just showing you that all of these things you can do that are really cool. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going to be making more videos showing off some cool stuff soon, and it'll all be really awesome for you to learn about. So hope have a good day.